Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going on a little nature walk. It's just me, my bucket hat, and all the questions that I got on my last community post. We're just going to be doing a really chill Q&A today. So without further ado, I'm just going to hop right in as we're walking and talking. Vale vibes. Take a book, leave a book. Little dolphin on the other end. Let's hop into the first question, which is, when you meet new people, do you ever get messages from your guides or even their guides and spirits? What do you do with the messages you receive? Do you feel the urge to relay the message or feeling to them? Well, so the answer to that question is yes. Occasionally I will get messages about other people. Not always from their guides, like sometimes it happens, but it's not often, and that's mostly because I've set some pretty strong boundaries with spirit where I just don't want to be receiving messages about other people all the time. Also because then I just have this sense of responsibility, like, oh, I have this information, you know, like I feel like I have to do something with it. But it's also a pretty interesting topic, like in the mediumship community in general, where if you get a message for someone, do you or do you not deliver it? I fall into the category of people who generally does not deliver messages if I get them for other people, mostly because you just don't know someone else's beliefs. You don't know what they're going through. You just never know how it's going to be received. And I don't really like giving people messages if it's without their consent. So that's about that. However, I do get messages from my guides occasionally about people in my life, but it usually has something to do with me. I've had situations where they've warned me about certain people trying to come back into my life, or if there's something going on with one of my friends, they'll just tell me to check up on them. For the most part, that's really it. Question was, did I know that I was always meant to be a light worker? Did I always know that I was going to have a calling from spirit? And honestly, no. When I first started on this journey, I had absolutely no idea. I had no idea. I spent up to that point my entire life wondering what the heck was my purpose, because I was always feeling super unfulfilled with my career. Oh my God, I'm getting winded. I need to sit down. I did not know what my calling was. All I knew was that I was having these experiences and that I already felt very, very pulled to start learning how to communicate with spirit. And so that's what happened. I know that once I started, that's how I knew I found it. That's how I knew. And this is actually going to lead into the next few questions, but I had a lot of help along the way figuring out little pieces here and there that kept me, kept me going straight on this path. Every time that I opened up to connect to spirit, and every time that I did a reading or tried, or even when I heard one word or got one message or sensation, I felt totally fulfilled. I was extremely happy. I was like, oh my gosh, like I could do this forever. When you experience that kind of feeling and that kind of sensation of, I'm so passionate about this, like I could learn about it forever, I could do it forever, pay attention to that, because that is essentially a part of your calling. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be just one calling, but it is definitely a part of your purpose and a part of your medicine and the medicine that you bring to other people, the wisdom that you can bring to other people. Yeah, leading into the next couple of questions, I had, what are the first steps in finding out what your abilities are? There's two routes to this. You could do the one that I took, or you could do the route where you can find it out by yourself. The route that I took, I went and asked. I straight up went to somebody and asked. Back then I went to Reddit. I found someone that I resonated with who was giving readings, and I straight up asked them, what are my strongest clairs? What are my strongest abilities? Because at this point, like, I was aware of what clairsenses were, and I kind of naturally knew that, oh, if I'm able to find out where I'm strongest, then I can begin to cultivate those abilities, and then I can, you know, start actually working to hear my guides, hear spirit. So that's what I did. I asked her, what are my strongest clairsenses, if any at all, because I was still very scared, like, oh my gosh, I'm probably just a regular old Joe, and I'm not special. Plot twist, we are all special, we all have these abilities. Don't you dare for a moment think that you are average. So she essentially validated what I already knew. She said clairaudient, clairsentient, and extremely vivid dreams. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes total and complete sense. Because up to that point, I've always been an extremely vivid dreamer my entire life. I was hearing spirit very clearly at that point. I was, you know, hearing like messages and words, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And clairsentient, which meant I was a very strong feeler. She kind of kept going after that part, and she said that my abilities were actually going to grow like very, very strongly, and that it was going to get overwhelming for me, but bring me a lot of joy and fulfillment at the same time, and that within a couple of years I was going to be a very seasoned psychic. Salt Bay. So that really helped me. That gave me the idea of what I needed to learn. I then began focusing in on my clairaudience. I began focusing in on my clairsentience. I began writing down every single dream that I could remember, because writing them down and starting a dream journal will cultivate a stronger dream life and a stronger dream recall. But yeah, the other way that you can do is figure it out on your own and, you know, not have someone tell you. You can go via internet. That's why I do a lot of those, like guess what's in the mystery bag kind of videos, because it will help you gain an idea of where your abilities are most open right now. My personal opinion, I find it to be easiest and most helpful to refer to somebody to help you figure it out. But if you're more self-sufficient, you can refer to different books. There's actually a lot out there that are like, grow your psychic abilities, grow your psychic senses. There's a lot of like practice books out there. There's development groups. I highly recommend a classroom setting. I think you get a lot out of being able to practice with other people. So there's a lot of different routes. See which one resonates the most with you. I want to say what's most important here is not necessarily like getting the answer of like, what is my strongest ability, so much as like, just look at the fact that you're even willing to learn. Look at the fact how willing you are in pursuing this path, and that's really what will begin to open them. Because once you're willing, opportunities will open up around you into pursuing, you know, whatever you're called to do. The next question after that was, how can one learn to hear their spirit guides aside from physical phenomena happening every day, like signs, visuals, stuff moving, things like that? In my experience, meditation. You need to learn how to cultivate the silence so that it's like a clean slate for somebody to be able to bring you the message. You know, it's like if you're already on the phone and the line is busy, how is your spirit guide going to try and call you up and say, hey, here's the message you're waiting for, right? It's going to be hard to hear them. Part of this is, again, learning about your abilities, learning where you receive most strongly from, and honing those abilities that you are already very good at. Because that is where you can begin to learn how to receive from spirit. Like, for instance, when I was told that, okay, I have clairaudience as my strongest, vivid dreams as my strongest, and clairsentience, that helped me to understand that if I want to receive from spirit, I have to either focus on hearing them, either focus on feeling different kind of sensations happen when I'm trying to receive an answer, or ask them to show up in my dreams and start recording my dreams and see if whatever I dream about is the answer to what I'm asking. A lot of the times your guides are not going to show up like in full form in your dream and be like, here's the answer. You know, like a lot of the time the dream itself and the scene that you are watching is the answer to what your, whatever your question is or whatever guidance you're seeking on. Here's an example. I would meditate a lot. I would go on YouTube and search spirit guide meditations, or just long meditations that would have like a quiet pause in between the narration so that I could focus in that quiet moment asking, spirit guide, please show me what I need to know. Then I would wait, and I would wait in the silence and see if you get a word. Generally, I would get one word answers. It was not like how it is now where I'm able to hear like phrases or sentences. Back then, all I could get was a word. Because you have to train your muscles. You have to train your muscles to receive. It's like learning a new language. So find out what your abilities are. When you find that, begin using those abilities to communicate with spirit. And again, remember, we have all of the abilities. If you're not clairvoyant, that doesn't mean, like, if you don't see things now, that doesn't mean you can't see things later. Cultivate a space, especially when you're first starting out. You know, a nice quiet room, light a candle, whatever is gonna get you in a nice calm zone. In the calm zone, when you begin receiving like a word or a song in your head, or maybe like an image in your imagination popped up, that's your spirit guide coming through. That is a guide coming through, that is spirit. Do you feel a really big shift in the energy the last couple of weeks? I'm getting bombarded with weird dream synchronicities and feel like I'm a little crazy. Yeah, honestly, it's really funny because the past few months, I haven't had any kind of dreams. I think ever since I was at Shasta, it was like late May, I kind of completely lost my dreams. And I used to be such a big dreamer. I would get like prophetic dreams like every few times a week. I had an incredibly active dream life. And since then, I don't know, like they all just kind of fizzled out. It was very hard for me to remember things. I was actually like, there were a few times I like burst into tears because I was like, I want my dreams back. I want my dream life back. Like, why? And in the past couple of weeks, it all came back, like just as if it was never gone. It was just like snap, suddenly super vivid, super lucid. It was very weird. And funny enough, like it was a Pisces full moon too. And Pisces is all about dreams. So I'm not exactly sure what kind of like cosmic transit was happening for us, maybe for me or for everyone around that time. But yes, it was a very big shift. In fact, I've been getting a lot of collective energy updates from like the spiritual realm, and like we are undergoing a big collective shadow these next few months. Not the funnest, but I definitely feel there's heavy energy there, and the message that I keep getting is for everyone to just remember that, you know, you hold the light. The light is not outside of you. You hold the light. Yes, very strange, very strange shifts happening. But you know what? It really is like that quote that everyone says, like, what a time to be alive, right? Like, we all signed up for this. Here we are. All right, so the next question on the list was about physical symptoms with Ascension. I think I briefly covered this in another video. There's a lot that is involved and is not limited to what I'm gonna list. So your body is being essentially influenced, you can say upgraded, cosmically transformed on a very subtle level. And so you're probably gonna feel like random fatigue, tiredness, maybe weakness, a lot of headaches or head pressure, especially like pressure right here on your forehead. Head tingles. I experience a lot of head stuff. A strange sensation, like as if someone cracked an egg at the back of your neck. Random muscle aches, or, ooh, this is a good one, neck aches. Kind of where the back of your skull meets your neck muscles. I think in acupuncture or in some modality, it's called the gates of consciousness. And that's very much where you like receive a lot of energy, like influx. Occasionally, I've had some very strange like heart palpitations, stomach sensitivities. Your diet may change. You might feel like you want to eat lighter foods. Might even want to cry more. Honestly, you might feel just very emotionally sensitive. But physically, that's the majority of the list that I've experienced. But remember, I am not a medical professional, so if you ever experience anything a little out of the ordinary that gives you cause for concern, 100% go get it checked out. Okay, now on the topic of dealing with unwanted energies, here is my advice to you. And it's funny because I actually get like every so often someone coming to me about this at my day job. It's like they intuitively know that I have the answer that they need. A bench. Perfect. We'll sit right here. So my answer to this, kind of two parts here. The first being, if you have an unwanted energy or spirit or what have you in your house, you really have to treat them like you would a random stranger walking into your home. You're not just going to light a candle and then just hope that they see themselves out the door. You are going to threaten to call the police. You're going to cause a scene. You're going to try and push them out of the door, right? You're going to try and get them out of your house. Same goes for spirit. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean you can't have that same intention. You know, you have to have this intention of, I want to get you out of my house. This is my space. This is my safe space. You're not welcome here. You really have to put like that oomph behind it and that emphasis of get out, you know, get out. You can use a lot of different tools. You can use like sound bowls. You can use drums. I find drums to be really effective. Burning herbs. You can cleanse your space. So start from like the back of the house and move out, cleanse each room and move out towards the front, towards the door. Literally, you can actually act out like pushing somebody out of the house, cleanse the door, close it. There's other different kind of like magic rituals that you can do, like putting a broom upside down at the front of your space. This has worked for me. I don't necessarily know if it's going to work in your situation. It's just an example I'm throwing out there if someone wants to try it. You have to have every action be supported by the intention of, I want you out of this place. You can't just wave around your herbs and hope the herbs do it for you, because you are the wizard. Your tool is just the wand. The wand is not going to make magic on its own without the wizard putting that intention into it. Okay, but now specifically in this case where you feel like it's some kind of like attachment to your partner, what's going on with your partner? What's going on with like people in your home? What's going on with you? You have to see, is there something that is drawing that kind of energy in? So take a look and see, what are they going through? What are they going through that could be attracting like another energy that resonates with that? Spirit doesn't show up and does not stick around without reason. And I want to give you an example so that this can be a little bit easier to understand. I don't really want to talk about like specific situations because I want it to be able to apply. Okay, say that you have a spirit who passed away. They like overdosed on cheese or something like that. This is just an example. They ate too much cheese, they passed away. Say that there's a person who is really, really struggling with their addiction to cheese, and they just can't stop eating cheese. It's their crutch, you know, like they have an issue with it. This spirit, who is still wandering the earthly plane because they don't want to leave it yet, or they're lost, or whatever their situation is, they find this other person who's still living a physical life, who's addicted to cheese. And they're like, oh my gosh, I relate to this so much. This reminds me of what my life used to be like. I'm gonna stick around here. I'm gonna squat with them so that I can essentially like relive my cheese days. Whatever, apply it as it needs to. I know I'm making it a little bit silly, but hopefully you understand. So they relate to the cheese addiction. They're gonna stick around because this person is reliving the spirit's cheese addiction too. That's what can create this situation where now you have a spirit who is very much inclined to stick around because they relate to you, they resonate with you. So you're gonna have to think about it like this. You can't just get rid of the spirit, because the cause, which is the addiction to cheese, if it's continuing, it's just going to keep attracting more stuff. It's like if you put rotting food outside and you keep like shooing the flies away, but the fact that the food is still there, it's still going to keep attracting stuff to it, right? So the only way to get rid of it is to do the work, is to release and break that addiction. You know, release the cheese. That's my understanding of how that can happen. This is a perfect segue into the next question, which is thoughts regarding higher consciousness levels and outgrowing certain things like salt, candle spells, or negative energy clearings. I used to feel like I needed protection, but now I feel like that's past. I absolutely love this question because I have been there. I feel that it has a lot to do with growth, and I feel like that it has a lot to do with your power and your boundaries, which play into your growth, right? Crystals, candles, spell work, all that stuff, I think it's really great, especially when you want to like beef up your intention and beef up, you know, whatever you're trying to achieve. It's like a wand, right? Like all these tools, all these little things that you can do is essentially like having a lot of different wands and casting your intent through each wand. I don't feel like it's necessary because, as I said, it's not like the wand that makes the wizard, right? I feel like I'm quoting Harry Potter here. So essentially, like, you don't need all these tools to be able to get that same intent when you can do it without it as well. I really feel that because it's not the wand that makes the wizard, it's the wizard that makes the wand. I'm just gonna do a story time on this, so if this answer is not super satisfactory in this Q&A, you're getting a whole video about it. So. Question about wisdom and discipline. Sometimes I feel like I need a break from absorbing these energies and working on my shadows, but am I just being resistant and lazy? Am I wasting precious time, or am I being too rigid? Too loose or too tight? How can I tell? What are you feeling resistant to, is my question. Are you feeling resistant to doing the work, or are you feeling resistant to taking a break? Too loose or too tight? Honestly, like, in my path, there has not been a steady flow. It's always been an ebb and flow. You have to think about it like the way the moon creates the tides. Sometimes there's going to be more of an ebb, sometimes there's going to be more of a flow. Sometimes you will need to be a little bit more on top of your shadows, and sometimes it'll be okay to feel a bit more loose and relaxed, because it really depends on what the energy is calling for you to do. Depends on what's going on in your life at that time. You really have to listen to what your intuition, and specifically listen to what your body is telling you. And kind of right now, I can tell you that I have been going through a time period where I will kind of spontaneously start bursting into tears for like a couple of seconds and then stop. This is telling me that I have stuff that's needing to come out, and I have not been as on top of my shadow work as I need to be, because it's like spilling over, right? Like the tears are just coming out before I am able to make space for them to come out, before I'm like actually in my little shadow work ritual. Or here's a really good one. When I feel anxious because I need to make a post or, you know, get a video out or do something for social media, but nothing is coming. Like maybe my creativity just feels like it's kind of bleh at that moment. Then I have to look at, is this asking me to rest? Is this asking me to retain my energy for myself versus give to other people right now? When you are flowing with it, you just go where the energy is going. Go where the energy is asking you to go. Don't fight against it. If you need to rest, rest. If you need to do your shadow work, do your shadow work. So the next question was, can you please answer me why I cry at times when I'm in meditation and I'm getting a very strong sense to go home, meaning not my home but elsewhere? This is actually really common. Meditation creates a space that makes it safe for your body and mind to relax and release. I would say it's a very good sign that the tears are coming in meditation, because it's saying that that's a very effective form of release for you. So that's normal. If the tears keep coming, keep doing it. It's very good for you to be able to, you know, let stuff out. With the sense to go home, I would say that this plays into Ascension, and that it is your soul recognizing that it is in a temporary human experience, and that, you know, we are only here for a little bit of time, and then we go back home to the spirit world. I love this next question because it is, when am I coming out with my own oracle cards? It's kind of in the works. It's like on pause right now. I mean, it's still one of my goals, and it's definitely something I want to do. It was funny because me and my friend, we wanted to do like a shamanic oracle, which was gonna be super, super cool, but it'll come. I don't know when, don't know how, but it's gonna happen. Last but not least, have I seen my future, or have I seen my own future, and what do I think of it? I will get little tidbits here and there from spirit, like my direction, where I'm supposed to go, what I'm supposed to be doing, if I need a pivot, things like that. I do have an idea of like my near future stuff, that it really all stems out of like what I'm wanting currently at this moment. Like, what are my goals? What are my dreams? I'm also all too highly aware that things can change on a dime. When 2020 came around, there were so many things and people that I was supposed to meet that I did not end up happening. But I had dreams about them, like, okay, this is gonna happen very soon, and then like they all just disappeared. Ever since that year, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna let things happen as they need to. Whew, thank you for coming on this walk with me. Thank you for all your questions. I have the best community here. Like, let me tell you, you are all such amazing people. I hope that gave you some insight. If you have more questions, leave them in the comments down below. Other than that, see you in the next one.